All right, guys. I wanted to discuss some of the updates. Non-shooting videos. This now has a 22-inch barrel. I have not chronoed it yet. Probably tomorrow. I'm waiting to cut a bracket to pin down the breech on the CNC, which I'll do in the morning. It has a little butt stock. It's 3D printed. It's whatever. It's good enough to shoulder. This extension is what I wanted to explain a bit. So I have huge hammer energy, and the reason is hammer energy is always determined by the throat or the poppet diameter, the valve stem poppet diameter. And those two are usually closely correlated. Like the throat on this is 375 thou, and the poppet diameter is like 440. So in my experimentation, if you split those two numbers, if you average those two numbers and then multiply it, radius times pi times pressure, you'll get a good idea of the back pressure on that poppet. And in this case, it's tremendous at 3,000 psi. But I have a tremendous amount of hammer, and I have a 1/3 pound hammer in there, and the spring is rated for 134 pounds and so on. So it gets the job done. The problem was it was overdoing the job. In other words, I'd fire a shot at 3,000 psi, power adjuster, which is over here, right there. It's all the way backed out right now. But so I'd fire a shot at 3,000 psi, and I'd have the power adjuster, turned in, because it's going to be a lot of cracking pressure. Remember, the pressure is a key component of that equation, because the area is just radius times pi. It's the pressure that makes the difference. So opening a valve at, let's say, 1,000 psi in a Crossman 1322, well, that's real easy, and that's why you have a dainty little, 0.8 millimeter wire diameter spring. And then the bigger up you go, the more force it takes, until you get into balance valves, and then the force required goes back down because you have an opposing force pulling the poppet off the seat, just like the regular force is pushing it onto the seat. So they cancel each other out to a degree. But anyway, in this case, so I'd have it all set up to 3,000 psi. I'd fire a shot, everything's fine. The numbers weren't fantastic, but they were fine. And then, so I'd go to the next shot, and I'd get another decent shot, and let's say slightly lower velocity. And then on the third shot, all of a sudden, bam, everything leaks out all at once, and I open it up, and the poppet was destroyed. This happened 2 separate times. And what it was is that in my little configuration with that direct, valve to bottle configuration, it was, when the pressure was down, the hammer force became too much. But in order for me to learn a system like, all right, every time the pressure goes down 500 psi, I back off the power adjuster 7.5 turns. To dial in this whole system where I wouldn't be breaking poppets, it would have taken months, perhaps, and I don't have that type of time or dedication. So the simple thing I did was added this extension, this chromoly extension, and what that does is the hammer's coming backwards, back to here. What that does is it allows the poppet to over travel. So when I'm on lower pressure, the poppet dwell will be greater, thus bringing the velocity up a bit. And when I'm on greater pressure, I can still have, like I would originally have with, let's say, the power adjuster fully engaged, and I would get a normal amount of travel. So throughout the shot cycle, the gun is usable with this extension. Without it, it wasn't usable throughout the shot cycle. I would have either needed to regulate the gun and dial it in for that pressure, or, like I said, create a graph of how many turns to what PSI do I need for, ideal function. But anyway, now it does the most of everything, but the gun's also, about 42 inches long now, whereas it started out about 2 feet long. But I think I maxed out the 12-inch barrel. I was getting 580s, so it was like 134 foot-pounds. I got a 570 in there a couple times, so, which is fine for the 12-inch barrel because, my porting isn't ideal. Ideal porting for a 50 cal is, 50 cal, and I'm only at 375. Could I go back in and mess with the porting? Probably, I could open it up a bit, but now with the long barrel, it doesn't even matter. You know, I'll hit at least, 250 foot-pounds, I'm sure, without any tuning. So things that still need to be done, I need to CNC a bracket that locks this down. Those two brackets are more like guides, even though they're bolted in. They're not that strong. But this main bracket is life or death, because the transfer port's right below that, and all that force is pushing upward. And then I need to do a pistol grip right here. You can see the trigger. Let's go underneath. You can see the trigger hanging right there. I need some type of pistol grip. I was thinking about just a wooden